tell you what, it's bloody hot. It's very dry, so dry that every time I touch anything I'm getting zapped. Little static electricity bits and bobs whacking me every time I do anything. Very annoying. But I get asked a lot whether or not people should buy the Crown or the Impact. And now that I have both of them, I have some opinions to share on the matter. So we're going to run them side by side today. I found a potential buyer for my Crown, so I won't have it for much longer. But yeah, I'm going to zero it up on the new tune, see how it performs at 50 metres. Hopefully we'll get some good groups and tie it all in together nicely so that it's ready to ship off. No dramas there. And now that I've got my Impact back from Herman's, I'm going to zero that up as well. Just make sure that the scope's all still where it was when I left it. So yeah, should be a good day, assuming that I don't burst into flames like the rest of Queensland and New South Wales. So yeah, good thing we're running air guns instead of proper powder burning guns. Sort of minimises the fire risk a little bit. Alright, so we're on paper now. We're pretty much in the middle of the target there at 50 metres. I've had to sort of change my range around a little bit today because I couldn't get the car in. My alpacas kept wanting to run out the gate. Very annoying. Very inquisitive, very annoying, but as soon as the loud pops went off, they've left me alone. So, but now that we're down here, I can set my target camera up. I know I'm not going to shoot it. I've shot it before. It's copped a few ricochets, so the old life-proof case is a winner. Happy with that. But yeah, looks like we're on target, so we'll shoot a couple of groups and see how we go. There is a little bit of wind. I'm going to bust out the Kestrel and measure the wind. I haven't really used it much, but yeah, it's a good thing to use today. And it's pretty easy to see the wind in the scope because of just the way that the sun's really beating down and super duper bright. You can see the mirage like drifting away as you shoot through the scope. So I've wound the scope all the way back from 24 back down to 12, and the mirage isn't really obscuring the target too bad. So that's one of the things you end up finding out about a little bit as you shoot. Some people whinge about high power scopes not being useful because of mirages, but you can just turn them down. So I don't know. I like high powered scopes. Alright, let's go have a look. Alright, so here we are at 50 metres. When I first started, it was landing up here on the tyre. I could see a few little tiny holes in there. I don't know if that's going to come up or not nicely, but yeah. Walked it down a bit, landed there. Walked it down a bit more, landed there. Then nailed one into the middle. And then I went over and shot this group right here. So we've got 5 rounds sort of floating around that, I don't know, probably about an inch, 2 fingers or thereabouts from centre to centre. So not stellar work. I'm a bit rusty at the moment. I haven't actually been shooting my air guns much at all, really. It's all been archery for the last couple of weeks just because I've had to keep it quiet. My neighbours have been entertaining and I don't really want to annoy them too much with the sound of an air gun going off all day. So I was doing archery instead, but yeah, that's my excuse for today. I'll shoot another group. I reckon the mean point of impact is probably between those two there. So we might just wind it left, mill it through the reticle, and then send it left a little bit. Maybe even wind it up 1 or 2 clicks, and hopefully we can print a group here that is all in that little white box and call it good. And as is my custom, I have gone the wrong way. Alright, reloaded, ready to go. Shoot quick before I get burnt. Ooh, it's hot. legs hurt. Oh, it's so hot. Got a fair amount of wind pushing through, so my impact is a little bit on the right hand side of where I'm aiming, which I think is fine. I think I'm going to leave that windage in there because of the push that we're getting from the left to right, so hopefully that'll even it out in calm conditions. But we've got a nice little 5-shot group here. Here we are, looking pretty good. 2 through the same hole, a couple on the right hand side of it and 1 bang in the middle. So it all got pushed a fair way off to the right there. So that's about, pardon me, half an MRAD of, well, 0.2 of an MRAD rather, of windage. So that seems to be about right for 50 meters and the current wind conditions. So I'm going to leave that there. It is perhaps ever so slightly high. I might wind it down 1 click and confirm. But aside from that, I reckon we're on. It looks like the 900 feet per second tune is running very nicely with the King Heavy Mark IIs. I'm averaging 898 feet per second with a 10 feet per second extreme spread, which is lovely. And the gun sounds strong and crisp when you fire it. There's no sort of extra slappy, gross sound. It's a hard crack and off she goes. It's loud, but that it is what it is in my country. There's no suppressors, so you're going to get a bit of a bang here and there. So good. So I'm just here in the shade. I've done my environmentals and checked the wind with my Kestrel, and it's telling me that it's a 5 mile an hour wind, 4 to 5 mile an hour wind, and it's telling me to hold 0.37. So that's pretty much bang on where the wind is. Yeah, good estimation. Right, so we're all zeroed up with the crown. Happy with that. Shooting good groups. Landing in the right spot. Just reset the turrets. They're good to go now. If you do have an Optisan scope, that's a good thing to keep an eye on. If they do come loose and you don't notice, it's can be a bit of an issue. So that's kind of why mine was so high the first time I shot. It was way off the paper, not only because I'd tuned it up, but I'd also had it zeroed much closer for doing the short range pest control type stuff that I usually use it for. And as I went to wind the turrets back, I realized that the actual little locking rings have sort of wound themselves out a little bit, so it might be one of those things where less isn't more, perhaps, with an Optisan turret. Maybe you do need to give it a bit more of a cinch. Be careful obviously, but yeah, so keep those little retention rings tight so that your MRAD turret indicators are where they should be, and should be right. So she's all zeroed out and ready to go at 50 meters. Lovely. Now we're going to do some shooting with the impact, but I need to move because the shade has moved and the back of my legs are turning pink, which is no good. So bloody hot. So while we're sitting here in the shade in between guns, let's do a quick little rig rundown of each one. So this is my FX Crown, walnut stock. I'm running a Harris ultralight BRM. It's either a BRM or an ultralight, I can't remember. But that's an ex-military surplus bipod. It's got the tilt and pan feature on it. It's very nice. I'm running the Optisan 6-24 first focal plane, the non-illuminated model, because the illuminated model wasn't out when I bought this one, but they're out now, and I would highly recommend it. It's good. Illumination is one of those things that it sort of seems a little hokey until you need it. If you're shooting at last light, it's very handy. So great scope, especially for a gun like this. It's sitting in Vipertech rings. They're high rings, I believe. Looks pretty high to clear the magazine. And standard 480cc bottle, non-retractable fixed shroud as per the Australian delivered model. I haven't adjusted the trigger. It's just doing what it does. It's a wonderful trigger straight from the factory in my opinion. And just look at those lines in this ridiculous Australian heat in this dry, crunchy, horrendously fire-ridden land. It looks lovely. Looks very well at home. Got a nice little piece of tiger striping there just below my transfer port setting. Love this gun. It's definitely going to be missed when it's gone. So yes, the Optisan scopes come with sunshade. a 50mm sunshade on the end, and really nice lens caps. They're aluminium lens caps, they're not those rubbish bloody Butler Creek POSs that other scopes come with. Looking at you, Schmidt and Bender. So very nice, very nice. All of that's available, everything you see here pretty much except for the bipod is available from hermansguns.com.au. So if you go and get yourself an FX from them, tell them Uncle Hodge sent you, and hopefully they'll send me some more stuff to review. Right, rig rundown number 2. This is my impact. This is basically why I'm selling the Crown. It's just a ridiculous amount of money to have in air guns, so the scope and the gun is basically worth more than my car, so it doesn't really make sense for me to keep both the Crown and the impact. But I am madly in love with the impact. It is a wonderful piece of equipment. We're running the standard side shot mag that comes with the Impact Mark IIs. Great little magazine, seems to work really well. You tend to run out of air pretty quick with a stout 25 caliber tune though, because you kind of get carried away. You end up firing a million shots out of one magazine and forgetting where you're at. So, but for my 30 cal barrel, I have an original smooth twist 30 cal barrel, and my good friend Darko over at Calm from Croatia has sent me some single shot loaders and 30 caliber magazines. I believe it's an 8-shot magazine. I've got to do a little bit of testing and play around with that. It should be good fun. And yes, there we go. Standard 480cc bottle as well. 700mm barrel. I've got a pellet liner in there at the moment, but I also have a slug liner to use as well for when slugs become available in this country. Schmidt & Bender 5 to 25 PM2 sitting in loopholed PRW rings. Wowee, what a scope. What a scope. Heavier than me. It weighs about 400 kilos, but it is a fantastic piece of equipment. I love it very much. And it's about as long as the Optisan is with no sunshade on it. So yeah, be advised, if you are going to get a Schmidt & Bender, it's going to be huge. But it has mountains of travel in those turrets, so very useful, very good. Down the bottom, we're running Vipertech CT1. Glorious bipod, big fan of that. That's courtesy of Herman's Guns as well. So if you want one of them, go and check them out. They're a little pricey, but they're very, very nice. They just a fantastic quality piece of kit. I'm a fan. I didn't think I would be a fan because I don't really know that much about the company, but yeah, this product in particular, I'm a big fan. I like it a lot. So there you have it. There's my impact. Through this 700mm barrel with the 25 King Mark IIs, King Heavy Mark IIs. I can't quite remember, I'll put it up on the screen, but I think it was like 915 or something like that, 915 feet per second. And with that extra 100mm of barrel length over the Crown, it makes it just ever so slightly quieter, which is nice. And it's very quiet on power level 3, which is about halfway, and basically inaudible on minimum. So it's a really handy thing to have if you're doing any sort of pest control. Big fan. Right, so zeroing the impact. Going to be a little bit different from what I did with the Crown. I'm not going out to 50 meters. I'm here at 10 meters. Nice and close. I'm going to be shooting on minimum power and setting my scope up for that, because the type of pest control that I'm going to be doing with it in the very near future is going to be all sort of offhand 10 meters, nighttime under light kind of stuff that you would have seen me do before, but not with the impact yet. So going to get a couple of videos of that type of pest control out with the impact. Should be a good time. But for now, we've got to zero it up, and I'm going to zero it in a sitting unsupported position, just to get a better feel for how good I'm going to be with it offhand. I'm pretty good with bullpups. Certainly better than I am with a traditional rifle. Offhand, that is to say, and also on the bench, I guess. I do shoot a lot better with the impact than I do with the Crown. But yeah, 10 meters minimum power, some super duper quiet low power plinking. Good times. All right, lovely. So, to accurately mill that so I can figure out where I need to get my scope, I'm going to pop my bipod back on, have a bit of a lie down, and measure it without shuffling around. So we've got about 5 mils of elevation. Oh, feels so good to use the expensive scope again. So nice. And 3 mils of windage. So that is going to be 1, 2, 3. Alright. So we should be right to set up a target camera now. Now that I know I'm not going to shoot it. Just for reference, there's my little 5-shot group. Let's open that up a bit. There we go. And this gun will basically do that at 50 meters. Once you get past 50 meters, it's a little tricky to get good groups because there's so many different things at play, especially with pellets, the changing ballistic coefficient and the wind, the slightest puff of wind, even like a 1 kilometer an hour wind will just throw you off so far. It's wild. But yeah, happy with that. Nice little, small little tiny group. A little bit shaky from me being unsupported, but yeah, very good. So I've wound it back on. We'll get a target cam set up and probably print a couple of groups on these bottom ones. Just realised I forgot to turn my mic around. Idiot. There we go. Lovely, lovely. 10 shots rapid. Drill a little hole in the target. Sick. Ready to rock. So, should you buy the Impact or the Crown? It's a good question. It really depends on what you want to do with it. I think if you need power, the Impact is definitely the way to go because it just handles the 700mm barrel in a much more practical way than the Crown does. The Crown is available with a 700mm barrel now, but it's just so ridiculously long. It's quite long even with the 600mm barrel on it. When I throw it on the back seat of my ute, it's the whole way across the ute. It's a full-size gun. It's not a toy. It's yeah, it's easy to handle. It's light, but with a 700mm barrel on it, I would just be super worried about all the different leverages that are going to end up playing on where it connects with the actual action of the gun. Whereas with the Impact, it houses a 700mm barrel very nicely. It looks good. It doesn't get stuck on anything. It fits in its tiny little case. Yeah, it's definitely the way to go if you need that 700mm barrel, because with that extra 100mm of length, you can get infinitely more power out of quite a bit less regulated pressure. So that's one thing to think about, especially if you're shooting slugs. I've had a few people message me and they haven't been overly happy with the performance of slugs, particularly 25 caliber slugs and 30 caliber slugs. Some people have messaged me and said that they're very upset that their Impact won't shoot 60 grain 30 caliber slugs over 1,000 feet per second. And ooh, check this out. You can see that up there. It's a firefighting plane. There's lots of bushfires around here at the moment. But yeah, people have been upset that they seem to think that a Crown or an Impact is supposed to be shooting really heavy slugs and like 30 caliber. And I don't know about all that. It doesn't seem like it's a good idea to me. I think if you're going to shoot really, really big, heavy slugs, maybe go for an Evol or an Air Arms or something like that, you know, like one of the big Texans. These are, I think the Impact and the Crown are great, especially for pellets, very precise pellet shooters. But for heavy slugs, I reckon you probably want to stick to a 22 caliber. You'll just get better results than you would with 25 or 30. I think the slug has a bigger friction generation from the bearing surface of the slug going down the barrel as compared to a pellet where it's just a little bit of the dome and a little bit of the skirt that touches the barrel. So it takes quite a bit of energy to push a slug down the barrel with any real significant speed. So that's something to think about. If you're really super keen on shooting slugs through a pellet gun, particularly an FX pellet gun, you probably want to use 22 caliber. That's my hot tip. I will be trying 25 caliber slugs in mine. I don't think I'm going to bother with 30 cal slugs. I'm happy with the performance of 30 cal pellets. And anything more than that sized sort of a deal, I'm going to be using my 22 rimfire, or even my 223 or my 308, any of my powder burning guns to take that next step up. The real beauty of a precision air gun in my mind is being able to print tiny little groups and basically make no noise and have a really reliable subsonic gun is what I want, because I can't have suppressors legally in my country. So that's the way I see air guns, especially the FX air guns. They're just so easy to tune and precise, and I personally think that's what they really shine at. Slugs, yes, but preferably 22 caliber slugs. You'll just get more out of it. You'll be happier with it. And yeah. But as far as picking the impact of the Crown, which one should you buy? If you've got the money and you like the impact, go for the impact. That's my top tip. Bigger magazine, bigger plenum for more power, handles a longer barrel, much nicer. Picatinny rails all over it, mounting torches, mounting bipods. You don't have to drill it, you don't have to mess around with it. You just get your thing for your torch and just clip it straight on. All good, no dramas there at all. With the Crown, if you're just looking for a traditional pellet rifle, it's an excellent choice. It's a very handsome looking rifle, especially in a walnut stock, in my humble opinion. It's very precise, as you've seen from my videos, I'm sure. It does a good job out to 50 meters, and then anywhere beyond that, you're going to have to be real good at reading the wind with a pellet. But it seems like lots of people do it, and they do it well. And it's considerably cheaper than the Impact, especially in my country. The Impact is $32.99, and the Crown, in the same guise that I've got it, is just a shade over $2,500. So it's nearly $1,000 cheaper, and it does almost everything almost as well as the Impact does. So if your budget is limited and you still want to have enough funds left over to go and buy a Crony and to go and buy ammo and a scope and a rangefinder and all that sort of jazz, probably go for the Crown, because that step down in price is a fairly significant step down in price, and there's no step down in quality. It's quite a bit more simple than the Impact is, and it doesn't seem to have as many problems as the Impact does. It does still have its problems. You're going to have FX gauges that probably are going to read wrong. You're going to have a little bit of regulator creep. Seems like pretty much every FX air gun that I've ever seen has a bit of regulator creep. It's easy to sort out. You just blow a couple of empty shots down before you start shooting any proper target orientated rounds, I guess, that rounds in anger, if you will. And it sort of cleans out that extra air that's crept into the regulator and settles your tune back down to where it should be. So it's a fairly easy fix. And if you do want to upgrade the regulator to avoid that, there's lots of good options, like the Humor regulators are great, and they're very easy to install. That's something that you can do at home. If you have any tools and you're mechanically minded, you'll be able to do it, no worries. Plenty of instructionals on the web that you can find for that sort of stuff. I'm not planning on doing that with my Impact. I'm very happy with mine now. It's had a few little issues that I had to go back to the shop for, but it's all good now. She's fixed under warranty. Had only good experiences from the boys down there at Herman's Guns. Anytime you have a problem, just ring them up and they'll sort you out, especially if you've got warranty left. It's an easy thing to do. So yeah, that's my my view on the world. I think you need to decide what your budget is and what you think you're going to be doing with it. If you're going to be shooting slugs, get the longer barrel, get the Impact, more power, you're going to be happier. But if you're just shooting pellets and you need the money for other things, definitely the Crown is an exceptional option. Very good. So there you have it. Should you buy an Impact or should you buy a Crown? Yes, you should. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm going to sit around and run my air dry. Ta-ta!